So it's now time a bit to animate a discussion. There are panel members that have been invited today. So this is the moment that I have the pleasure to call on stage our guest speakers. I would start with Mr. Sagias Yanis. Thank you and welcome. You can go. Yeah, of course, you're athletic, so please. So also Mr. Haris Vasiliou. Thank you, Haris, for being with us today. Okay. And we continue with Mr. Novak. Thank you. And we finish with Jonas, that you saw before, you met before. Please, Jonas, join us. So before we start with the first questions in our friendly discussion, probably something important to do is to briefly introduce yourself so the audience knows who they have in front of them. So maybe we can start with you, Aris.
Good afternoon from me as well. My name is Haris Vasiliou. I am a senior consultant at DG Santé here at the European Commission. We are mostly working with health and food safety. I'm involved in the department that's associated mostly with digital transformation, both at the portfolio of DG Santé as well as supporting the member states with the various information systems. And then, of course, we are dealing with a large part of the ECIT governance compliance between DG Santé and the European Commission, and also looking at other aspects such as AI aspects within the proposals and so forth. So this is my current, let's say, capacity, and I come from Greece, working also there at the Ministry of Digital Governance, mostly focusing on the AI strategy and the digital transformation strategy for the Greek government. So that's mostly my major, let's say, focus, and I give the floor back to you, Giuseppe.
Thank you. You can pass maybe the microphone to Yanis. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. I'm Yanis Ayas, and I've been working in the European Commission for the last 17 years. I'm a deputy head of unit in DG Research and Innovation. Actually, my office is just in the opposite building now. I've passed through several parts in the Commission dealing with European projects also, and also sponsoring European projects or designing programs, as Nikos mentioned. Some of these billions or trillions that were put on the slide where actually we contributed a bit. And I saw the project management methodology being evolving from different sides. So back when I was working in Digit for the public sector modernization and interoperability solutions, we had the pleasure to be able to support the PM2 methodology at the start of it. And then a very dear part for me, which is the dissemination, exploitation, and valorization of the EU projects. It was, I think, mentioned from Nikos quite a lot on that. That I worked a lot in developing the strategy, in identifying how this value that we generate with investment in research and innovation can be captured, can be returned to society, and also benefit Europe and, of course, European citizens. Currently, I'm working in the mission, the EU mission for climate neutral cities and smart cities, which is something. It sounds different from the things that I used to do, but actually not, because there you see the actual take-up of the solutions that we fund with these grants. And also you see the need for project management in entities like cities and bigger or smaller municipalities. So I think it's very, very important. And also, like Haris and Nikos, I come from Greece. Electrical engineer by training, and I spend a lot of time also in the academic domain as well.
Thank you, Yanis. So I see that Gregor, Mr. Novak has already a microphone, so please introduce yourself. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gregor Novak, and I'm from Slovenia, so this is the non-Greek part. even though I speak a bit of Greek. I'm working for the Health and Digital Executive Agency, which is the executive arm for the project management. And there's a common misconception that basically we do the project management in the Commission. We don't. We do the contract management, because basically we do the contracts. We don't do the project. The project is on the consortia part. I started working in the project management in 2014 already. So I've got under my umbrella more than 300 projects or contracts that I have been managing in different programs in Horizon Europe, European Innovation Council, and now I'm working in Unit B2, dealing with digital. So basically everything that has to do with photonics, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and so on. I'm quite new to this company, lovely company of Greeks and non-Greeks, but actually I realized when discussing with Nico that for PM Square, I started in 2013 already, when I did a certification for one of the courses. So it's a pleasure to be here, and I would like to thank Nikos and Praxis for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being with us. We continue. Yonoto, you want to introduce yourself, give a bit more details? Yes.
Sure, I will take back some of the 15 minutes that I lost at the beginning. Sure. It's somewhat of a pressure, like when I talked first and now I talk last, so I see a lot of peer pressure building here. So I'll start by my nationality. So I'm Romanian, so indeed away from the Greek parts, but somewhat Belgian, because I also have Belgian nationality. So I actually discussed 2 days ago if I'm more Belgian than Romanian, but it's still an open conversation. So I am today representing the PM Square Alliance as the president. But as you kindly said at the beginning, my experience is in project management, starting with my academic degree in project management, and also following up with trainings, and also co-teaching with you the project management at UBI was also a nice experience. And leading the community of PM Square Alliance is also something that, thank you very much, Nikos, for putting it into words, because someone cut up my time. So I kind of snuck that in. It's always wonderful to have the community on board and to be able to bring added value for each individual's experience, and to grow a community of professionals and to be part of the change. Because indeed, you have the institutions, you have the consortia, you have the contracting authorities, mostly for the executive agencies. But ultimately, as Nico said, we're all people, and we are all working towards a common goal to make our lives better. So I'm trying to assist you in that journey, and that's why I'm involved here now today.
Thank you, Jonas. So I would like to feel free to start with whoever wants. I play with this power, and I chose Haris to start this conversation tonight. So what I found very interesting in your profile is both the fact that you have been exposed to EU funding schemes already in 2000. But what is interesting in the combination of your skills is that you gained experience not only writing proposals for different programs, Erasmus, Horizon, and so on, many others, but also that you have gained a remarkable experience in teaching people how to write well set and solid proposals. So starting from this perspective, I would like to know how do you think that both the proposal writing process and the proposal itself can benefit from a project-based approach, and in particular from incorporating the best practices and the artifacts of PM Square initiating and planning phases?
Yep.
Before you answer, the word artifact has been repeated many times tonight, but I don't know how many people are comfortable with the word artifact. Artifacts are just templates. They are documents. They are tools that help people managing projects basically do the work in a more effective way.
Thanks very much, Giuseppe, for this question. So I'm been fortunate enough to be involved also on the proposal writing and proposal implementation, as well as PM Square teachings over the last few years. And this particular combination that Nikos put forward with the addendum, it's quite a fascinating part for me, because some things started to click while I was also reviewing the addendum and seeing how things fit into the process that we have been following so far. So for me, I think proposal writing is not just basically applying to a call that we usually are familiar with. It's more like the first phases to project management itself. We should be considering the proposal as the very first steps of project management in terms of a successful and winning proposal, a project, if we can say that. And the part about the initial phases, as you described, and the artifacts involved, it's a really crucial element. So by integrating the part of the initiating phase and the planning phase, we start to build not just a narrative, an idea, but we start to build the structure of a well-managed proposal that can be a winning one, and also provide the structure for a very well project management that it's definitely needed for the implementation of such a project. So you talked about artifacts, and in PM Square we have the initial artifacts of the project initiation request, how an idea is born and documented. And then obviously, how do we go about, the project charter, as we say, detailing this idea further, a potential business case involved, and so forth. So these are aspects that we actually use in proposal writing, or should be using in proposal writing. So in proposal writing, for instance, we have the concept note, which is an initial document, but there's not specific structure most of the times. It really depends on the project initiating the idea, like the coordinator or people involved in there. And the structure that we have in these artifacts in PM Square, such as the project initiation request or the project charter, gives an elevated amount of information about the purpose, about the objectives, about the governance behind it. So it's really crucial, I think, to be used and tailored, and provide a common way for every member involved in the proposal writing to have a common understanding, a common language, if we can say that, as Nikos mentioned, a common management language that can be used. And then, of course, we go one step further with the proposal itself when we have the work plan, for instance, or elements such as the risk logs and the metrics of the stakeholders that give added value and provide a structure for the proposal, which, as I said before, is not just putting forward the idea, applying to a template that is provided by the call, but proving that we have a successful project management methodology behind the overall structure of the proposal itself. Usually proposal writers think that, okay, we cover that part of the proposal that says about project management. We usually copy paste the part that we use in other proposals and we're good to go. No. Actually, good project management and using a sound project methodology, project management methodology, it's shown in all the parts of the proposal. Of course, not the technical aspects as such, but the whole structure behind the deliverables, behind the milestones, behind the schedule. And I think PM Square and this addendum really helps towards that, for making a good proposal, I think, into a winning one. That's at least my 2 cents on it.
Thank you, Aris. It's indeed important to use the templates and take also, this is what I meant before when I said a practical application of your learning. So using the artifacts is a way of transferring the learning into, operational activities that facilitates basically the work to be completed. I would like to continue with Gregor, if you don't mind. When I read the addendum, by the way, thanks Nikos for providing the copy, I enjoyed the part that lists misconceptions. Nikos touched at some of these misconceptions during the presentation, because somehow they may undermine the success of some of the EU-funded projects. So the question to you is, how important do you feel that bringing light and clarifying this misconception can help basically those ones dealing with EU-funded projects have eventually successful projects? And if you have on top of the misconception that were mentioned, other examples that you would like to share with the audience tonight.
Thank you, Giuseppe, for this question. As Nico's already mentioned, there are so many misconceptions, and that this is definitely not a final list of the misconceptions that you're going to find during the project management. I've picked a few that I really, really like, and for which I can even give the examples. So, for example, the project scope is fixed, and nothing can change. A project A, like you already know, is a living organism. It's going to change. It's like life. So basically, things are going to change during the project management phase as well. There are going to be bankruptcies, for example. There are going to be technological changes that are going to impact the project itself when you're doing it in the life of or in the age of the artificial intelligence nowadays. Things change every month, and average project is 2 years. So you can imagine how much it changes. So if you're flexible and if you have the methodology in place, the one that is being described in the addendum, basically you can do a lot of things in order to compensate for all the challenges that are going to be happening during the lifetime of any project, not just the project in the context of the EU. Then, of course, the other one that I also really liked is that we are all together in this. The project advisors, the project managers, the project administrators. The Commission is not against you as a project manager, not at all. We all want you to succeed. But you have to know that basically we have put in place so many rules and so many papers that you need to fill in actually in order to be able to show that the taxpayers' money has been properly spent. And this is behind the whole thing of providing us with all the costs, with all the papers, with all the documentation. One thing that always comes into my mind whenever I'm talking to the coordinators of the project and the consortia is that project is not a standalone thing. So basically, as mentioned before by Nikos, you're not doing the project for the project itself. You might think so, that it's going to be the case. But the thing is that we on the Commission side and you as a coordinator on the side of the coordinator and of the consortia have also to think what's going to happen once the project is over. I have a lot of projects once they are done, dusted and finished, when audits have been performed, when all the deliverables have been submitted, when reviews have been done, they come to the Commission and they say, okay, what next? What happens next with the project? In the majority of cases, there's a website, there are reports, deliverables that are available online, and that's it. But nobody thinks of how to actually commercialize the services and the products that are done within the project. And there's wealth of projects that would be able to be commercialized afterwards. But it's not done, first of all, because we on the Commission side, we do not provide always the possibility and the financing for continuation of this. And on the other side, the project itself as well has not thought about what's going to happen next after the project is over. So this methodology and the book can provide the answer for that as well. I hope that was clear.
It was very clear. Thank you, Gregor. Has Ioannis is close to you. If you don't mind, I would like to continue with you. Maybe we can bring the conversation to a broader perspective. So based on your experience, for example, it would be interesting to understand a bit the pain points in terms of effectiveness of the EU-funded programs, if any, in your view? And also, if you see, so in a projection towards, Nikos said something important during the presentation, we can always do better. So in a projection, in a future projection, what are the areas of improvement that you see?
Thank you. I would like first to tap on a bit what Gregor said. I just want to give everybody one statistic. Normally, dissemination exploitation is an integral part and an obligation of every project, especially collaborative projects. And normally, if it's a residual obligation, up 4 years after the end of the project, you need to deliver on your dissemination exploitation. If you don't, then you need to suffer some penalties, for example, a grant reduction. How many penalties do you think were applied for lack of dissemination exploitation implemented plans? 0 in Horizon 20. Maybe we're more successful in Horizon Europe, but just to know, you asked me about pain points. That's a pain point, and it's very close to my heart because I was working for that for years. Now, there are 2 ways to see it, because I think the presentation of Nikos and the addendum summarizes a lot of pain points in the area of the misconceptions. I think every misconception is a pain point, but you have to see it from both sides. So it's the side of the beneficiaries, the ones that actually go for the projects, and the side of the funding organization, so the Commission in that sense, or the member states or the regional and national authority. So there are problems in efficiency in both. So I would like to speak from the side of the Commission there to that. For me, how I see it is the 3 C's: is the complexities, the coordination, and the compliance, which creates at least half of the misconceptions you mentioned. And these are the pain points for the efficiency. I would say the coordination, multinational projects, as Nikos mentioned, well, I know somebody from that country that we want new member states or, widening countries, or we call them, we're very intuitive with our words. And then you end up with a multinational project with different partners, different roles. You cannot control them, you cannot manage them, you don't know who exactly is doing what. And this is reflected in the Commission. So Commission is happy to see it on paper that, okay, it's a fantastic consortium, but then the reality comes in Gregor's hands, that he needs to actually go on with that grant and make it happen. And then comes back to the policy level that all these results need to feed and said, okay, I had some objectives. I had this excellent consortium, but without the proper role management there, nothing actually comes out. So I cannot even use it, neither for the market, for the commercialization, or for policy making, again, or programming level at the Commission. The other is the compliance. Of course, submitting the continuous reporting and your reporting templates doesn't make you a project manager. You can use project management to do that, but that's certainly not, and I think it's one of the many, the most important misconceptions, and we know it from the Commission point of view, but we are a bit scared, I have to say, so allow me to say, well, forget that I'm a Commission official, to impose anything on the large majority of beneficiaries. So we say, okay, we should let that to the community itself. We should let the people decide how they will like to comply with what administrative requirements the grants have. I have to say that after so many years, I think that the Commission should step up there and at least strongly advise on something, and that would be the project management methodology addendum, because simply it is important. We're not getting what we want even in the reporting templates, and that's worry from the Commission side. And I think the coordination there also, and it's not only the coordination within the beneficiaries and the consortia, it's the coordination also with the project officers. Which, if you have 300 projects passing from your hands throughout the time, you really need very good coordination skills from everybody involved in order to be able to deliver and increase the efficiency. Now, you asked me about the future. Okay, there are a lot of things because right now, Commission is crazy about the new MFF. So it's a forward-looking organization. We're always looking forward. We don't really take stock, as Nico said, step back a bit and think and take stock. No, always forward. But still, we're in this MFF. We're going until 2027. So it's like 2 more years in Horizon Europe, for example, which I know very well. It's even more years when it comes to structural funds because they take even more time to be committed. So still, we can increase the pressure for adapting the methodology in all beneficiaries. And I say that from Commission side, member states, regional authorities, big players, universities. So we need to increase this pressure for adopting as much as possible the PM2 methodology, especially for the EU projects. Standardized ways of working. You don't want to call it PM2 methodology, fine. As you said, use the artifacts, use standard way of working amongst your organization, across the borders of your organization, across the borders of your country, and try to comply the best way possible. And then what Harris mentioned, and I think that what he is doing, I think we need more than people than like Harris, because this is the capacity building that we need. This is the community we need to be, the expertise we need to build, and that needs to be transferred. And the Commission should actually help on that. We're building networks over networks. We should also build a network of project management practitioners throughout the campus, not only national contact points for this or that.
Thank you, Ioannis. I want to take then advantage of what you just mentioned. So the importance of the community. Maybe I can address this question to Ionut, because you are the president of the PM2 Alliance. So I would like that you drive us towards the engagement, the commitment of the PM2 Alliance towards, for example, promoting best practices of PM2 in Europe and also beyond.
Thank you very much for the question. Indeed, actually, the conversation so far builds towards the need that we have identified when the Alliance was born. Indeed, there is a clear drive towards a common approach and the need to have a common language, and the Alliance works exactly in that direction. So to ensure that we have a community of practitioners, and not only practitioners, but the people that would like to become practitioners in this domain. So the main purpose of the Alliance is to build and to grow a community of professionals that would ensure that the needs of the organization are also aligned with the needs of the people. And to add a bit to that is also to ensure that there is a bit for our soul. So the mindsets that are presented in PM2 are the thing that actually drive us to ensure that we share experiences, that we discuss this infrequent asked questions, to identify these sorts of misconceptions, and to ensure that we're all aligned in the approach that we do, and to learn from one another. That's also a very important part, because it's that saying that tells us that it's good to learn from your own experience, but it's also better to learn from other people's experience. So not to do the mistakes yourself over and over, but actually to see the mistakes that others have done and to not repeat them. So the PM2 Alliance is present indeed at European level. We have offices in every country, and also beyond the European Union, and we have the Americas, Asia. So our community is growing since the beginning of the Alliance till today. It's ever increasing. So there is clear room for everybody to take part. There are success stories. There are also failure stories that we can share and to learn from. So clearly, the community is the answer, because more is better than one. So I think joining in this community will definitely help everybody that wants to improve. And also in the relationship with the European institutions, as we also have a lot of members that are either part of these organizations or working with these organizations, clearly it brings added value to everybody involved.
Thank you, Jonas. Thank you. I would now maybe start challenging you with a question coming from the audience. I just checked Slido. So we have received a couple of interesting questions. So I read the question and I let you choose who wants to answer the question. So one of the questions states, is it compulsory to use a PM2 for projects receiving EU funding? If a project in a member state has a partial EU funding, can it choose its own project management methodology? Gregor. Yes.
It's a shared answer, yeah. We do not oblige anyone to actually do the PM2. It's not an obligation on the Commission side. It's helping you to have a methodology, whatever methodology you're going to use. I mean, if you have such a good addendum that basically provides you all the information, I would use PM2 if you ask me, because it's one of the most elaborate methodologies for writing the proposals. But of course, the Commission never obliged anyone to use any kind of methodology, project management methodology, to write a proposal. I was never intended to do that.
Yes, absolutely. And I think also when it comes to organizations or the member states themselves or their national regional authorities, and they have their own methodologies, Commission is accepting all of them. So you don't need to change existing methodology. Basically, we're happy if there are methodologies used, because in most of the cases, we see that there's nothing actually besides that nice group of people with a nice concept, a nice idea, putting down in a nice template provided by the Commission. We're good in providing templates, which are basically the things that we want to see received, not necessarily how we want things to be done. So that's the fundamental. So in that, yes, Commission is very strict with what we want to see, but how you do it is your thing.
Jonas, you want to add something? Yes.
I want. So just building on the conversations we actually had in the community, indeed, there is no hard requirement or a use of a certain methodology or PM2 or otherwise. What I can tell you is that the calls themselves usually mention the requirements, if there is a methodology that is supposed to be used or not. However, because there are humans on both sides of the table, both on the Commission side and also on the tender side, it always helps to talk the same language. So the Commission is obliged to receive the proposal. You can write it in your own language, but if I would start with you today to speak in Romanian, looking at the room, I think not so many people will understand what I'm talking. And even if you did, maybe it wouldn't be as easy as if I were speaking in English. So building on that and seeing what we've discussed so far and the fact that PM2 has been around for more than 14 years, 15 years now, people are used to that. So that's the language. So I would say that's much easier to speak your language than learn a new one. So yeah, we can accept PMBOK, we can accept Prince2 or whatever, but then you have to consider that is an additional effort on the institution side to ensure that there is an expert that will speak that particular language to keep it simple. So from my personal experience and from the community's experience, I see that PM2 is actually a faster route to success.
Thank you. And I think our main speaker wants to add also a bit of his grains. Yes.
I'll start by sharing some informal statistics. What do you think is the #1 methodology used in EU-funded programs? That's number one. people do not use a standard approach. Some of the very, very mature organizations have developed some procedures, and through their EU project support offices, maybe support them. But we're talking about a very, very immature in terms of project management. I don't want to use the word industry, where any help, any sort of tip from people who understand more or the European Commission that a methodology is very beneficial, and there is one that's free, developed, understood by the European Commission, and now tailored to EU-funded programs, has benefits, as Harry mentioned, from the proposal writing, because if you submit a proposal, that's the result of your project initiation and not the project initiation itself. So you define the project, you define the business case, the justification. Why do you think this idea is good? What benefits it brings to both the funding authority, society at large, and your organization? And then build it as a project. Then you have, and then move into pre-award planning. You have all the information you need for a very, very good proposal. And evaluators are very smart people. They can see through not just the science that they understand well, but also the structure and the maturity in how you promise to manage. And that's just the promise. So you can get away with getting a lot of points just with a promise, just by copy-pasting PM2 language, let's say, proposal. But of course, we care more about the essence, the actual effective management that's going to allow you to concentrate not on the admin and the project management, because you have that under control, but under the science and delivering the valuable deliverables and then.
Thank you, Nikos. Nikos, so you can keep the microphone, because I would like to continue with you. We saw during your presentation that basically the creation, conceiving the addendum of PM2 is basically to tailor really the EU-funded projects. So it is really something specific to EU-funded projects. So I guess you had to go through a series of adaptations, right, to really target EU-funded projects compared to standard project management practices. Can you tell us about these adaptations, please?
I'll tell you the reason why I did the adaptations. The adaptations themselves would take us a little bit longer. So I've been helping, supporting and teaching project management, PM2 more specifically, but if you want to be fair, PM2 is just a vehicle for talking about project management best practice, not a goal in itself. In the context of EU-funded programs since 2017, the coordinators, the project participants have been very thirsty in wanting to learn better how to manage their challenges. They discover in these courses that it's not just about administration, it's about project management. They realize the value of project management best practice, common project management best practices. So a series of courses has been very successful over the past 7-8 years. And this guide brings us together because for the instructors and the professors, they know that the students, the participants, after they leave the course, they start retaining less and less and less of what they needed. You never go back to PowerPoint slides. So having a book together was the reason, first of all, that I put this together. And why now? Because after 8 years, I realized that it was missing, and what the value of having such a tailoring. Now, it is explicitly mentioned in the PM2 mindsets that you are encouraged to tailor the methodology to the needs of your project, your industry, your project type, your organization, even your team. And of course, it sounds easier than it actually is, particularly if you don't have a lot of experience in project management to do that. So definitely a tip: involve some experts, involve some people who understand the domain before you start changing any methodology and adapting it. But the specific tailorings have been done with multiple factors in mind. One of them that they need to apply to a very broad number of different types of funds and projects and sizes, that they complement the methodology itself. So I mentioned not a standalone, but it explicitly connects EU-funded projects with the PM Square methodology and the tailorings. To highlight, I'll pick a couple, but tailoring happens on the 4 pillars: so life cycle, the things that we do in every phase, the governance, a little bit of how we name these roles, but mostly on how the responsibilities are tailored to the needs of an EU-funded project. How the artifacts together, the PM Square artifacts come together to help you with filling in admin documents. And the mindsets are tailored specifically to this context. And the processes remain the same. They're generic project management, just applied to different type of.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me mention one last thing that I wanted to squeeze in my answer, not related to your question, but project management is a Trojan horse. It's a white knight's Trojan horse. When it comes into an organization, it brings out so many positive changes because of its accountability, about its transparency, that the skills that it requires, process orientation, and look at the leanness that you require. So I'm very, very happy that a PM Squared, but also the tailoring of the addendum, brings it closer to EU-funded programs, because I mentioned that my observation is that it has a very, very low maturity in good project management. A lot of maturity in winning proposals and grant administration, but when it comes to real efficient and effective project management, there's a huge deficit.
But, by being in touch with researchers, especially in my previous mission as a dean of an institution, the misconception that was mentioned before of having a winning proposal that's equalized to a winning project, this was so incredibly common in the mindset of people, which is not given. You can, yes, you can have your proposal accepted, but this doesn't mean that your project will be successful anyhow. Thank you, Nikos. Maybe, Yannis, you mentioned multiple times the MFF, so the multi-annual financial framework, and in the new one of 2028 to 2035, there is a commitment, and this commitment is simplifying, right, the way the implementation of EU programs will take place. So what expectations you have at policy level? What changes will happen according to you when managing EU programs in the new MFF? And if, as a project management community, we could ask something at political level, what this would be?
I think that you're aiming the policy questions to me. Thank you for that. Yeah. First of all, there's something that the word simplification has been around the EU programs for many years. So actually, we even have an award-winning colleague as Mr. Simplification some years ago, because he managed really to simplify things from FP7 to Horizon 2020, and then from Horizon 2010 to Horizon Europe. So indeed, we simplified a lot of things. And as I said before, every multi-annual financial framework comes with a proposal of implementing a huge budget. The trillions actually wasn't me, it was Nikos mentioning about the MFF first. And this actually needs to be implemented by the Commission, by the member states, and the individual stakeholders. So we need to find ways that this is simple, is less complex, and it's straightforward. We managed a lot so far, but I don't think that we have done it. I would say that the simplification was pretty much on re-engineering processes, or seeing maybe the reporting templates, what we need to do, which of course frees up time, as Nikos mentioned before, in order to free up energy to the beneficiaries, but didn't actually did this. It wasn't a game changer. So we managed to do a lot on a cost, and allow me to say something on that. When Commission simplifies something on the administrative side, normally comes with a cost on what we're losing. So for example, the fact that we have no idea on the commercialization of the results it was a sacrifice that we did for that simplification. And other stuff. Okay, simplified cost models, these are really good stuff, and I think it will pay off. We need to focus on the user, and the user is the one that manages on behalf of the Commission, takes this grant and runs this grant. And now the new MFF comes with this completely radical approach of taking these 80 programs and making them 16 only. Single rule book, one way, it's like one ring to rule them all, something like that, one program to rule most of the programs, simplifying, making the thresholds easy and understandable to every beneficiary that wants to apply. And of course, that is a huge promise. At the same time, they say that you have 500 regional instruments and make them 27 national or regional partnerships, one per member state. 500 to 27. Huge promise of simplification. Okay, now that's the political level. That's what von der Leyen says, and it's fantastic how you implement that. And that I see it's a golden opportunity for project management, for the mindsets, for the methodology, for the way forward. So this is something also that comes with the flexibility. And I think it was Gregor mentioning that, okay, the scope changes, so you really need to be able to have at least a methodology that will allow you manage your change, manage everything, and put it back in order to reach your goal. To close that, because I mean, I can talk a lot about the MFF and all this proposal and all this. It's just a proposal for the time being. So we have to see what the Parliament will say, what the Council and the Member States. But one thing I strongly believe is that it's a golden opportunity for a project management methodology to be the one that we can use in order to jump on that simplification and make it happen. And if it's one thing to ask at the political level is that include practitioners right now. Right now, we're building the new, let's say, reporting templates for the EU programs that will start in 2028. If possible, the audience, ourselves, we have to speak the same language and push for that. Include the project management practitioners into the decision and the policy-making process now in order to make things better for the implementation of 2835.
Thank you, Yanis. So there is, by the way, a pretty interesting question received via Slido that I will ask later, which touches exactly what you just said. Ari, so you've been a bit silent, so I would like to continue with you. And leveraging what we said at the very beginning, your remarkable experience with different funding programs, one part of the complexity is the fact that they do not have the same requirements, that also the administration or the administrative component is different. So how do you think PM Square as a methodology, and specifically the addendum for PM Square, can cope with all these differences? And then I know you have a master in artificial intelligence, so I had a curiosity, how do you think AI is going to impact, components in the work, for example, related to proposal preparation, daily work, and so on?
So apparently I was silent enough for you to pose two questions, so I can have more time to answer. Well, I have been slightly silent, but I have been listening to many interesting interventions by the panel, and I also had a few things to tap on. But probably I will do it later on as well. Just going back to your question, I think indeed part of the first question has been answered to quite a great extent by Nikos earlier on, to the fact that we have different funding instruments And through those instruments, we have different administrative burdens. We have different reporting cycles, for instance, and obviously compliance rules, which are quite different. And what PM Square in the addendum offers is basically a way that you can adopt. So coming from the philosophy of PM Square, that the methodology is there to serve us rather than the other way around, you can have a very critical word that we use, which is tolerability, basically, which is basically what Nikos mentioned before. You can tailor the different artifacts and the different elements of the methodology to adopt to the different needs of the funding instruments, but keeping the same management consistency. So, for instance, you can have elements such as the work plan or the risk logs that can be scaled differently. When you're talking about a Horizon proposal, you can have a more formal, more elaborate description of those. But when you're talking about Erasmus, you can probably talk more about the streamlined approach on this. So there is a certain effect of tolerability that can be used. And the addendum actually offers quite a good guidance on how you could adapt to the different funding instruments. Now, going back to the question about the AI, which I think it's quite an interesting one. I think we're going through a transformative phase with AI. Everybody's using it. So in two ways, you have a lot of use of AI facilities with proposal preparation. So you can analyze the call, for instance. You can see matchmaking between potential consortium members with the profiles that you're looking for a proposal, or even go into the technical narrative in certain cases using AI. So you can have a tailor-made drag using specific LLMs, for instance, that can help you do that. But on the other side, we also have parts of AI that we are trying to use also for the actual project management. So when we're talking about project reporting, so you can utilize elements out of the deliverables that can help you with the process of preparing the reports, potentially flag risks or budget deviations, things like that. So AI can be used for those elements. So it's not just, for instance, reporting. A very good example that Nikos mentioned before was about the closing. So many people, for instance, have a bad or negative evaluation, and they just move on. And when the time comes, they don't really utilize the results of the previous ESR in order to see what they have done wrong or how they can improve. AI, for instance, in combination with the addendum, can help you see the gaps and identify how you can use lessons learned from closing the previous project, either a losing one, let's say, or a successful one. We usually neglect the lessons learned. So if it's a project that failed, we can use AI, for instance, to see what's the gap for a new proposal, how we can improve. I was recently involved in a discussion for resubmitting a proposal, and we had the previous CSR about a year ago. And I said, have we done a gap analysis of the new call in combination with what the evaluator said before? And said, oh, no, we haven't done that yet. So number one step could do that to get some lessons learned there. Or perhaps you have a successful project and you do a proper closing, and you run your lessons learned, and then you see how you can potentially apply for a new fund, for an extension, for a new project, and so on. So these are quite interesting topics. But of course, I will say what's very trivial, and everybody says when we're talking about AI, even in this case, should be used in an augmented way. Obviously, not the number one go-to copy and paste results. You always have the judgment of the people involved. You also have the ethics associated with it. So obviously use it wisely and use it appropriately in combination with the addendum and the different proposal domains. So yeah.
Thank you, Aris. And I mean, you will discover this once you read the addendum. This is also mentioned by Nikos in one of the sections of the addendum. Gregor, if we take advantage of your experience as a project officer, it would be interesting to understand what is, according to you, the difference between EU-funded projects that stay on paper and those ones who achieve successful results. And it would be also interesting to understand if you have a list of project management practices that you would indicate as success factors in EU-funded projects.
Thanks for the question. Nikos mentioned them in the addendum already, so it's quite easy to find them. So this is not a problem. But for me, as a project officer or project advisor for many of the projects, the ones that really stand out on the success scale are the ones with the team. The best team always wins. And basically, if you have a good team working on the project, I mean, your project is going to be successful together with, coupled with the methodology that is used, of course. I've seen, of course, a lot of projects, for example, extremely successful ones. Now, I'm going back to the EIC phase of my life, where the projects themselves were actually, and the companies, they were sold. And you know to whom? To the Americans and to the Chinese, which is quite a pity for Europe. The majority of extremely successful companies in Europe are still being sold outside because Europe doesn't have the money. We don't have the equity. So the European Commission tried to answer this question and this issue of equity with the EIC. I don't know how successful we are or we were, but basically the ones that are successful, you can find them quite easily. It's not a problem. But apart from that, as I mentioned before at the beginning, you can see a successful project when there's really good communication with us as project advisors and officers. The project coordinator actually mentions not only good things all the time, but also the issues and challenges. And if this is communicated quite early on, it's quite easy to correct things. And we're there to help, basically, the projects as project advisors. So apart from that, all the points mentioned in the addendum, leveraging cultural diversity, ensuring financial management expertise, developing IP agreements early on, these are all the steps that really, really can help with bringing the project to a successful end in the end.
Thank you, Gregor. We have 7 minutes left, so if we are fast, we can squeeze 1 or 2 questions. But I would like to give a bit of space to questions from the public. I would first read a question about Slido, and then I will give you a microphone. Yes. So the question we received in Slido is kind of interesting because it's about really talking the same language. So the person is asking, how are the EU templates for proposals adopting the PM2?
They don't. I think that we tried it in the past, Nico, and we were not successful in the sense that we needed. I mean, it's, as I said before, Commission focuses on what they want to receive, and what and how this will be done. It's really, I mean, we do care, but at the end of the day, we will never impose anything on the beneficiaries. And of course, it is clearly shown that if a proposal follows a structured approach and a proposal doesn't. But again, we are providing templates, but we're not providing ways to fill these templates, except some training, some guidelines. And we can even start. I mean, okay, I said we don't, but still there is time to change that. And the idea is just to start with proposing inside the numerous, let's say, guidelines that we issue, and the trainings and the material, to also provide the, as we said, a methodology that was built within the Commission is for free and is understandable from both sides, basically from the Commission side, which is the most important when you receive it, but also from the community.
One of the successful strategies of PM2 right from the start is that it was never promoted as a mandatory methodology. It was the recommended and eventually became the only place to go to when you needed a methodology or project management support with the European Commission. And that worked, maybe using reverse psychology, the best. People, the infamous saying, compliance is good, but commitment is better. And I think we achieve this by making the methodology recommended and not mandatory. Having said that, I've consulted in Greek public sector and Romanian public sector, and I remember very characteristically project managers there asking me if we could please make the methodology mandatory. So you would find benefits on both sides, being mandatory, uniformly used or recommended, but I think the strategy is clear for PM2.
Thank you. Aris, you want to add something on?
I think, both Yanis and Nikos really covered these, but I was thinking as we were discussing this beforehand as well, how much streamlined the whole process would be, taking into consideration that the Commission is already fully aware and fully utilizing this methodology. If we had this element of the addendum being used, not forced, but used preferably by the projects, and how this would also help the consortia themselves, because we see a lot of diversity behind the cultural aspects of how they manage projects in different countries, in different domains, the level of maturity between the different consortium partners, let's say. So having an open and well-structured methodology such as this, I think would both benefit a lot both sides to the story. So I think this goes to what the previous speakers have said. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We finish with a last question. I don't know, you have the mic, or Marika, can you bring maybe a mic? We have a question.
Hello all. My name is Dimitris Katsaros. First of all, thank you so much for this event, Praxis, and all of you. Coming back on 2021 as a train, I had the training for PM2, and I realized this gap. And I think now it's very nice that you feel this gap, because we tried actually to bring PM2 in the proposals and in the coordination of our projects. So now we need to read this addendum. So coming in my question, I think it's for Mr. Novak. We all know the critical role for the project officers when we either coordinate or we are just partners in a consortium. Do you think, this is a question, maybe also an idea, we all know that in the grant agreement preparation or in the kickoff meetings and afterwards, we do have this collaboration with the project officers to have these suggestions for a framework and a methodology for project management, to make some suggestions. I really like, as a EU citizen, the freedom to choose, but I really also like sometimes some suggestions from the experts that, okay, guys, you need to follow a methodology in order to manage these projects. So what do you think about this and the role of the project officer on this? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. I completely agree in a way. But I'm also thinking at the same time, in the majority of the meetings that I've been to, the review meetings and the kickoff meetings, usually the methodology doesn't come up very on the top of the agenda. It's all the other things that we're discussing. But perhaps we should change that. We should actually start discussing methodology a little bit as well, in order to make things much easier later on. And all the suggestions, of course, no matter where they're coming from. Me as a project advisor, for example, I always welcome very warmly any suggestions that I receive from either side of the consortium or from the experts. Experts usually provide really good suggestions for the consortia in general. That's why we're hiring them, because basically we as project advisors, as mentioned before, we're doing the contract management. We don't have the expertise at all. However, with the years and with the expertise that we receive and we get with the years of work, we actually can also help in a way afterwards. So I don't know if anybody else wants to add.
Yeah. So yes, as part of the suggestions given to consortia, I just want to link to the common misconception on the EU-funded projects that a scientific officer can do the project management work. And I know from the community and also from my professional life, because I'm also working with project advisors and project officers, there are consortia that are not prepared to handle a project. So in that regard, we do receive questions about how should we best go about this, not what methodology to use, but how to go about it. And based on our experiences, as you said, we can suggest various options. And that's what we are also trying at the Alliance to answer these type of questions, not just for the institutions, but also for the consortium, because it's hard to find these answers in the wild. So you don't have such a thing as a project support office for consortium. There is no such thing. So this is part of the gap that we're trying to cover at the Alliance, because we have professionals from both sides of the table and they can answer these questions. So clearly, we offer advice on where to look. We don't indicate this is how you should go about it, especially as the Commission is not forcing any specific methodology to be used. So in that regard, we can point in the right direction. We can offer support. PM Square is, I would say, in a very good position there because it's free and widely accessible, whereas the other things are either on a pay or license approach, so not so much accessible. But for sure, you can find the answers. For sure, you can ask the question. And I think that's the most important part. I think people should stop being afraid of asking the questions, because most of the times what I personally saw is that people think that they will diminish their professionalism if they ask some questions. And I think that should be taken out of the equation. We're trying to find the best outcomes. So asking questions is the best way to find the right answer.
Thank you, Jon. This part of the relationship between, I don't know, the research institute applying for a grant and then the relationship with the stakeholders within, for example, the European Commission is touched also in the addendum. I agree with Jonas, because this may sound sometimes intimidating, but this should be really a relationship, a deeper relationship to be built, because nobody at the European Commission is against the researcher or the group of researchers. You're there indeed to help them. So it's really the very opposite. Before Ioannis hesitates, I would like to praise somehow the initial comment of the gentleman that's probably speaking a bit more of the same language would be eventually one of the improvements that we should target. Speaking in the same language simplifies communication. So the fact also of having PM Square as the required project management methodology, according to me, would help the work at the Commission in the sense that people would have basically a project management to apply. What you said is indeed true. The ideas might be brilliant, fantastic, but there is no methodology applied behind them. And this makes then the implementation of the project complex. Ioannis.
Well, the way I interpreted the comment was also that nobody forces at proposal level or from Commission to use the PM Square. But when you come in front of your project officer in a kickoff meeting, nobody really prevents the project officer to suggest anything. And I have the impression, I've been not managing projects for many years now. I'm at the policy level, and I miss that a lot, to be honest. But I have the impression that if your project officer gives you even a slight guidance, not strongly recommended ones, I have the impression that the project partners tend to follow. And that helps some of the project partners that want to follow to convince the other project partners that don't.
Yes.
That builds this common language that we're talking about. So I think that the project officers on their own, which it's a pity to say that it should not be something personal, something that Gregor does and Nikos doesn't, or vice versa. It should be something that should be encouraged by all executive agencies, regulatory agencies that run projects. That's one thing at the level of the grants, the grant preparation phase, the kickoff meetings. And if possible, as I said before that, to spread first the rumor that there is a methodology that could be used and it will be favorably taken into account whether you use it to submit, and then make it a practice, basically.
Thank you, Ioannis. Thanks, everyone. So we are running slightly out of time, and I see many faces thirsty, so it's a wine time. And the cocktail reception segment will start outside the conference room. So this is, as I said at the very beginning, an opportunity for us to network. I would like specifically to thank not only the audience, your questions, the interaction, your presence, but also all our guest speakers. Thanks for bringing these important aspects in managing EU-funded projects. We hope that their insights clarified a lot of doubts in the audience. Thanks again, and see you in the networking process.